16 years ago, she and her friend went out for dinner. A man her friend brought kept looking at her. The man looked honest and harmless, quite controllable. After dinner, her friend said, "That man is into you. He asked me for your number. Should I give it to him?" Then she added, "He has a girlfriend, the daughter of a minor official." The implication was that he would not break up with his girlfriend. She hesitated for a moment. "Go ahead." She didn't want to compete with anyone, nor expect anything. She just thought it would be fun. A few days later, she did get a call from the man, asking her out for dinner. She went. Having just graduated from college, she was curious about everything in society. She wanted to find out if a man like this would also cheat. At that time, he had just started working as a civil servant. She heard his job was arranged by his future father-in-law. The man gave her a set of expensive makeup, 800 yuan. That was very expensive makeup for her. She politely accepted it after some hesitation. Over dinner, the man said he liked her. She said, "Don't you have a girlfriend?" The man said, "If I have a girlfriend, does that mean I don't have the right to like someone else? Liking someone is uncontrollable." Perhaps she should have said, "Then break up with your girlfriend before pursuing me." But she didn't say that. She looked down on him for messing around when he was about to get married, but she had too much free time and didn't see any harm in having one more suitor. If just looking at conversations, they got along well. After the meal, she had to take the bus home. The man said, "How could I let you take the bus?" He sounded very sincere, leaving no room for doubt. He made her feel like a goddess who should not be tainted by the mortal world. He would be distressed if she suffered even a little bit. He called a taxi to take her home, then took a taxi himself, got off at the gate of her apartment complex, and took the bus home. They dated for 2 months. She was always pampered. As a new college graduate, she needed someone and something to help her evaluate her attractiveness. From him, she found a lot of confidence. Of course this came with a purpose. She had to exchange something. In the 3rd month, they went on a picnic and spent the night at a local inn. The man was very gentle. Before getting intimate, he offered her a massage. He massaged her first. His fleshy hands caressed her body until she felt hot all over. He took off her clothes like peeling a juicy peach. He said, "You have such a great figure, the best I've ever seen." Later he said this many times. It didn't sound like sweet talk, but genuine praise. Was this a compliment? She always thought she was quite ordinary. In fact, she didn't like unsophisticated men, but she needed him to be unsophisticated. 2 months later, she started dating someone, and he got married. They still had sex and chatted. Sometimes he gave her relationship advice, sometimes complained about his wife and overbearing father-in-law, sometimes talked about amusing things at work. They shared their lives. It was more like they were kindred spirits. She dated many boyfriends and told him about every one. She shared her joys and sorrows with him. He was good at giving advice and had objective insights. Once she met someone on a dating site who she thought might be marriage material. A few days later he called and said he had looked into the guy through his connections and found he was a scammer who had been kicked off the civil service team long ago. She didn't know whether to feel touched, angry, relieved or ashamed. During times she was single, they intensified contact. Once she asked, "To be honest, doesn't it bother you a little that I change boyfriends so often?" He said, "It would be a lie to say it doesn't bother me at all. But what right do I have to control you? I have no power or money to give you anything." 6 years later, she also got married, to a wealthy but uneducated man. The night before her wedding, she texted him, "Delete my number." His reply was one word, "Okay." The next day, their old friend came and gave a big gift, 2,200 yuan. The friend whispered in her ear, 200 is from me, 2,000 is from him. At that time, his salary was only 2,000 yuan. She felt she shouldn't take the money, since she didn't give him a wedding gift when he got married, and they had said their goodbyes. To accept it now would be laying the groundwork for future affairs. No, she was determined to be a faithful wife. She asked the friend to return the money to him, but the friend adamantly refused to get involved, telling her to return it herself if she wanted to. She said, "Why do you do whatever he says but not what I say? Whose side are you on?" The friend said, "Oh, just take it, it's breakup compensation, you deserve it." She was quite happy for a period after getting married. She gave birth to twin boys and her in-laws were overjoyed, her status rose sharply. Her husband even bought her a car, although she didn't really need one. By the 4th year, the two of them started to clash. Her husband said, "You have to adjust. We've gone from romantic love to familial love." She said, "Who cares about familial love? Do you sleep with family?" A woman accustomed to an active love life could not tolerate being ignored in marriage. She was extremely tempted to have an affair, but with whom? Taking a lover seemed beneath her somehow. After another fight with her husband, she could no longer restrain herself and called her ex. "How are you?" she asked. "Same old. Do you and your wife fight?" "We used to fight, not anymore. Fighting is pointless when we have to make up afterwards. It's a waste of breath." She laughed. The man asked her out for a meal. He had been promoted and gotten fat, a middle-aged man with a paunch. He spoke slower too, seeming even more reassuring. Strangely, they were less formal than before, just going to a food stall. He suddenly said, "You know, when we used to eat out years ago, every dish I ordered, I had to calculate the price in my head. I really was poor back then." She felt a pang, "Yet you gave me such a big red envelope for my wedding." Well, it was a major life event. She felt there was still emotion between them. After drinking, they got a room. They had slept together so many times before. With the passage of a few years, she suddenly realized she had forgotten his size and favorite positions. It was like having sex with a stranger now, and this excited her, spurring her to be uninhibited, which in turn ignited him. They went at it again and again until exhausted. Sprawled on the bed, she said, "This is the first time I've cheated since getting married. I gave you my first time. You have to take responsibility for me now." He held her tight but said nothing. They started dating again. Once he was giving a talk at his alma mater and went to check out the venue the night before. He drove while she read over his speech draft, which she thought was very well written. He had written, "Everyone may be driven by the flaws or brilliance of their personality to a place of isolation and helplessness. But that's okay, it's their new starting point." She suddenly realized how much they had in common mentally and spiritually. His steadiness, reserve, and expression, he had a vibrant inner world, yet could integrate smoothly into this filthy human society. He held her hand as they walked around campus. Many places had been rebuilt. He said the trees here used to be as tall as him, now they had grown into the night sky. She returned home very late. Her husband didn't ask where she had been. She guessed he was having an affair too, in fact there had been signs for some time. Now she understood the feeling when a estranged couple mutually ignore each other's transgressions. It was cold. Life held no hope, just muddling along until death. This was not the marriage she wanted. She decided to divorce. Her husband was arrogant. He asked who she planned to remarry when she had no job and would be dragging the kids along. This provoked her stubborn streak. She was determined to leave. The children were split between them. In the divorce she got 300,000 renminbi. She knew marital assets were far more than this, but she didn't have the energy or desire to fight him for more. She just lamented how at the start of marriage they had loved each other so much they wanted to become one person, but at divorce every penny was contested bitterly. What was the point? She started out selling things online. She didn't earn much money doing this for a while and many acquaintances blocked her. In spring, her ex took her and the kids to the countryside to pick peaches. The peaches there looked ugly but tasted very good. He helped her write a marketing pitch about the peaches going unsold and farmers sweating blood with no payoff. When she posted this online, many people contacted her. She hired trucks to collect all the peaches from the orchard. Despite unattractive looks, the repeat purchase rate was very high. She made a small profit this way, and decided to focus on agricultural products and build her own brand. Running a business allowed her to immediately move on from the failed marriage. She worked hard to make money, burning the midnight oil. Her love life seemed to have shifted entirely into her finances. In 2 years, she earned enough for a 200 square meter apartment in the city center, paid in full. She didn't expect to become a female entrepreneur, and neither did he. He said he knew many female entrepreneurs, all older women, none as young and beautiful succeeding solo like her. Also, her personality didn't seem the type that could succeed. She was truly uniquely blessed by heaven. In the past, he didn't like bringing her around his friends much, after all he was just a low-ranking official and had to be careful about his image. After she got money, he started bringing her to meet his friends. Once when they were out, she hadn't driven, and he asked her right in front of his friend, "Where's your Benz?" She could make him proud now. In all these years together, she had never berated him for his ordinariness, He was also vain, also a womanizer, also had many flaws common among most people. She understood and tolerated it all, perhaps because she had never expected anything of him, so was never disappointed. She felt this kind of relationship was quite good, no intense happiness, but no hurt either. She started accommodating him, like dressing up a bit smarter when meeting his friends, casually leaving her car keys on the table, clinging to him in front of his friends to give him face. She felt a lover also needed maintenance. He had treated her well for over 10 years, she should repay him. Her team came together and she made more and more money. Even if she sat around doing nothing, the team made enough she couldn't spend it all. When she traveled now, it was business class and first class. She went to Spain for New Year's and took a cruise to the Arctic in summer. In the Denmark Strait, she and the other tourists excitedly saw whales and took videos. She sent one to him, thrilled about it. Strangely, his reaction was lukewarm. After she returned and was busy for a while, she arranged to meet him. She brought gifts from every country she visited. She had the nanny help carry the big boxes downstairs to her apartment complex entrance. His car pulled up to go inside, but she called him to stop at the gate. He braked too hard, jerking the car to a halt. The nanny loaded the stuff into his car. For the first time, she felt his car, worth over 100,000 yuan, really wasn't much. They went to get a room and he still booked one for 300 yuan. She felt the whole room reeked of the toilet smell, and when the exhaust fan was switched on it roared like an airplane taking off. The shock from luxury to frugality was too difficult. She could no longer tolerate this. Yet she had to protect his pride, how tiring. In autumn, she asked if he wanted to go to Switzerland with her for 5 days. He said he didn't have time. But she saw on his social media that he went to a farm resort with some friends. She asked, "Didn't you say you didn't have time?" He said, "I'm a civil servant, work keeps me on a tight leash, won't let me travel abroad." He also said, "I've never been abroad. Even if work allowed it, they might not give me a visa for my first trip to a developed country." Finally he said, "I don't want to spend a woman's money." That was the crux. She was pained too. They could have been comfortable together, but now he ate, drank, played and used things she looked down on. Yet she also couldn't take initiative to book an expensive 3,000 yuan a night hotel room, that would make him even more uncomfortable. He wasn't the sort to be smug about petty gains. He had his bourgeois tastes, but also his integrity and dignity. He was a composite of countless complex traits, just like her. They didn't have a strong moral sense about relationships, but they both valued their own feelings and were true to their hearts. They were very real, fragilely and longingly real, although all this was built on an unethical foundation. In the 16th year she had known him, she searched for information about herself online. She entered her old chat ID and found he had a blog that mentioned her. He wrote, "I never said I loved her. Love is too heavy a word. I didn't say it, and it already rotted away. Have I loved anyone in this life? It seems besides my children, no one else." I wanted to ask her the same question, but I feel the answer would be equally disheartening. She stared at the screen. Yes, an equally disheartening answer. They had lost touch for almost a year now. She had no idea what he was up to. Her social media feed was too crowded to scroll through fully. She felt melancholy thinking back to how in the beginning they got together out of playfulness, then to get back at their marriages, and finally they settled into a steady companionship which she thought could last a lifetime in quiet mutual dependence, only to be defeated by the disparity between them. She remembered a line from their wedding vows, "Until death do you part." What lasts until death? Not romance, not marriage, not lovers. Everyone passes through. You must accept this, besides life and death, nothing is that important. Anyone could walk out of your fate over some trivial thing. What accompanies you forever is only yourself. She left a comment for him below. She wrote, "I always remember a line from your speech, everyone may be driven by the flaws or brilliance of their personality to a place of isolation and helplessness. But that's okay, it's their new starting point. Every moment is a new beginning and ending. All the best."